Good morning, Kuhner country. We are now, as President Trump himself has now admitted, we are now in a constitutional crisis. Here is exactly now what has taken place. Obviously, this show, these incredible callers and listeners, Kuhner country, we've been ahead of the curve on this, anticipating it, talking about it, discussing it. Now it has finally come to a head. Last night, literally at midnight, a district judge in Oregon has now blocked President Trump from deploying any National Guard troops to be sent into the sanctuary city of Portland, Oregon. At first, on Saturday, this judge, Karen Immergut, district judge, blocked Trump from sending National Guard troops in Oregon to go into Portland. Trump then ordered about 300 National Guard forces that were federalized from California to go into Portland. She then blocked that. Now, at midnight, she has issued a national restraining order against President Trump. Remember, this is a district judge now, literally slapping the President of the United States legally in the face, tying his hands, and saying he has absolutely no right to use National Guard troops from any state to be deployed into Portland, Oregon. She is now effectively running U.S. foreign policy, U.S. military. She's actually running U.S. immigration policy. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. President Trump now has filed an immediate appeal. He wants to take this to the Supreme Court, but he had the permission of Texas Governor Abbott. He said, okay, if she's going to block me from using Oregon troops, federalizing them, National Guard troops, California National Guard troops, I'll go to Texas. Abbott signed an order saying we're more than happy to give you 400 Texas National Guard. You can have them, federalize them, send them wherever you want. That judge, Immergut, has now blocked that. Now, what is happening is we are on a razor's edge. Before I get to Portland, in Chicago, which is now blowing up as well, J.B. Pritzker, that slob, and Brandon Johnson, this radical Marxist mayor of Chicago, are now in open defiance of federal immigration law, and they are aiding and abetting the obstruction of ICE agents and increasingly now assaults and coordinated ambushes and attacks on ICE. So here is what's happening in Chicago. On Friday, in Broadview, Illinois, which is a suburb just west of Chicago, you now have Antifa terrorists and other far left-wing groups have now mobilized around the ICE detention center and ICE facility located there. They have blocked the entrance into the building. They have surrounded the building. They have been attacking the building. They have also now assaulted ICE agents. Their goal, and they're very clear about it now, is they want to prevent ICE agents from arresting anyone in Chicago or in the greater Chicago area. No illegal alien must be arrested. It doesn't matter if they're rapists, murderers, gangbangers, you name it. They want ICE out. And they're now doing everything in their power to make it either very difficult or impossible to enforce immigration law and to deport criminal illegal aliens. This situation then escalated Saturday morning. ICE agents were on a routine patrol looking to arrest members of Tren de Aragua. They were told they were in certain buildings. Remember, This is one of the most violent transnational gangs in the world. About a group of 10 vehicles, this was organized, boxed in the ICE vehicles. One of them then drove her vehicle and rammed it into an ICE car, into an ICE vehicle. They then completely prevented them from being able to move. ICE agents had no choice. They were now surrounded, boxed in. Their cars were being rammed. They feared now the woman that led this attack, this ambush, had a semi-automatic weapon, a semi-automatic assault weapon. ICE agents then had no choice. They were pinned down. They were begging for help. Local Chicago police were ordered by Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker to stand down, to not help ICE agents who were now fearing for their very lives. They were told to not help ICE, and to not attend or do anything to help ICE agents. ICE agents had no choice. They got out of their car and they began to fire defensive shot after defensive shot after defensive shot. The woman who led this protest, who rammed the vehicle with the assault weapon, she was shot. Luckily, it was non-life-threatening. She had to drive herself to the hospital. But then a massive crowd surrounded the ICE agents. And at this point, ICE felt that this could utterly break out into a massive riot and that they could be killed or have to fire into the crowd. Again, Chicago police were ordered to stand down, to do nothing, nada, zilch. ICE agents then left the scene. Luckily, other backup vehicles arrived. They then left the scene and they fled. In Portland, as this is all going on, Portland now, parts of Portland are a war zone. Parts of Portland are a no-go zone. As you know, it is the stronghold of Antifa. Antifa terrorists, this has been going on, by the way, for months. It has now escalated in the past several weeks, have now literally cordoned off and surrounded an ICE facility in downtown Portland. Several blocks belong to Antifa. They control it. The police do not control it. They are now attacking ICE facilities in Portland, pelting them with bricks, bottles, rocks. They are assaulting ICE agents. They are preventing ICE from going into the building, getting out of the building, making arrests of these very dangerous criminal illegals, or bringing them into the detention facility. The local police, under orders from that crazy mayor and the crazy sanctuary state mayor of Oregon, Tina Kotek, are telling the police not to help with crowd control, not to help ICE agents whatsoever, but in fact to stand down if there's any clash or confrontation between Antifa and these far-left groups along with ICE agents. Conservative journalists who have been on the scene have been beaten. They have been arrested by the police as well as Antifa. They are now complaining, residents are complaining, that literally Antifa is occupying the streets and the neighborhoods around this ICE facility, and that now parts of Portland are literally in a full-blown rebellion and a full-blown insurrection. President Trump now is demanding that the Supreme Court take this case immediately, saying that they must send in the National Guard or federalized National Guard troops before the situation in Portland, as well as the situation in Chicago, becomes completely and utterly out of control. ICE agents start getting murdered and killed, and we essentially have anarchy and disorder on our streets. He has ordered 300 National Guard troops to reinforce ICE agents after what happened during the weekend. Pritzker says he is going to block ICE. He is going to block the National Guard. Brandon Johnson, that crazy mayor of Chicago, says he is going to block ICE and the federalized National Guard troops. So, here we are. It is like a Texas standoff. And the question now is, double-barreled question, is Trump right to send in the National Guard? Has Portland and Chicago now, are they effectively in a state of insurrection and even rebellion? And now a judge steps in and says President Trump cannot deploy federal troops whatsoever in Oregon.
617-266-6868 is the number.
Okay, this is from Larry on Messenger. And he's completely right, by the way. Jeff, I watched a video where the Portland police were helping Antifa hold the streets, even threatening one driver with arrest for driving down Antifa-controlled streets. I'm telling you, it's like the mob. You know, like in Chicago in the 1920s under Al Capone, like they controlled the streets, they controlled the government. Everybody does what Al Capone says. In this case, everybody does what Antifa says. So, no, Trump is right. It's lawless. There's anarchy. It's disorder. The mayor has lost control of the city, or at least parts of the city. And by the way, my doctor recently came back from Portland. This was in the summer. And I asked him, I said, hey, how was Portland? And he said, it's a disaster. I mean, that was his response. He goes, it's a disaster. I go, could you elaborate? He goes, homeless encampments everywhere. Everywhere. People urinating on the streets, homeless people, drug addicts, defecating on the streets. I know it's early. I'm sorry. Drug use everywhere. Addicts everywhere. Used needles in the parks everywhere. And he said that, he goes, I'm telling you, there are parts of Portland. And he goes, the sad part is Portland is a beautiful city. The surrounding area is gorgeous. It's beautiful. And you've got delicious seafood and fish and orchards and forests. And he goes, Portland could be this, honestly, one of the most beautiful places in the world. But they have run it into the ground. The Democrats and the radical left, these left-wing militants. And he said, parts of downtown Portland, he goes, there's no other way to say it, they're no-go zones. Businesses are boarded up. Antifa patrols the streets. And you smell drugs everywhere. And now they are literally blocking the ICE facility. They have been now for over 100 days, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. So now they are attacking ICE agents, assaulting ICE agents. They have essentially encircled and cordoned off the ICE detention facility. They are threatening to burn it down. Remember, they burned down that courthouse and the fire department. Sorry, the police department in Portland during 2020. So Trump is saying, look, to the mayor and to the governor, if you guys can't control your streets and if you won't let ICE do its job, then I got to send in the National Guard. Someone's got to protect those buildings, and someone's got to protect our federal law enforcement and ICE agents, because they're being literally impeded, inhibited, blocked, even attacked for enforcing federal immigration law. I want you to listen now to that slob, and he really is a slob, Pritzker, okay? Pigster, as I like to call him, Porky Pig. So there's Porky Pig, J.B. Pritzker, the sanctuary state governor of Illinois. And he's on with fake Tapper on CNN. And Tapper points out, well, a spokesperson for DHS, the assistant secretary, Tricia McLaughlin, said Chicago police were ordered to leave the scene. You had all of these agents boxed in, their vehicles being rammed. One of them that was doing the ramming had a semi-assault weapon. This could have been an ambush. And agents were trapped. They were isolated. A crowd then developed, an Antifa or radical anti-ICE crowd. They were surrounded. And they got no local law enforcement assistance whatsoever. Nothing from the local police, state police, nothing. Listen to Pigster. Roll cut 5, Mike.
The spokesperson for DHS, Tricia McLaughlin, accused Chicago police of leaving the scene and refusing to assist agents in securing the area. What do you know about this incident? Were federal agents boxed in and assaulted?
Well, we don't have a lot of facts. What happens in these sorts of incidents is typically ICE puts out a press release before anybody else can speak with the press, and then it gets reported on social media and elsewhere.
Right. We have the video. And I don't mean one video or two video. I'm talking dozens and dozens of videos. Countless eyewitness accounts. Nobody is disputing what ICE is saying. It's like saying the sky isn't blue. So, were there 10 vehicles who surrounded them and then boxed them in? Yes. Were there vehicles that began to ram the ICE vehicles? Yes. Was there a woman with a gun right there and she was ramming the vehicle and about to get out of her car? Meaning, was she going to use a gun and start shooting them? Yes. Did ICE have to fire back defensive shots? Yes. Did a massive crowd then surround the ICE agents? Yes. Yelling, screaming profanities, saying, get the F out of here, get the F out of here, you're not welcome, leave, leave, fascist, fascist, fascist. And most importantly, and the local police confirmed it, they were ordered to stand down and not help. So Pigster is lying through his teeth like he always lies through his teeth. Now, I want to read to you, Mike, how much time left? Okay. Look, I think it's time to invoke the Insurrection Act. I'm not kidding. Like, this is it. This is the watershed. If he doesn't do it now, when is Trump going to do it? And what I'm going to do, I don't want to rush it, is I'm going to read to you exactly a clause, what the Insurrection Act says. And you tell me if this is not a textbook case for President Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, which is a national emergency. It's time to take the gloves off. Okay, 6:33 on the great WRKO. Very dramatic developments now taking place in Chicago, and of course in Portland, Oregon. Now, I want to read to you the Insurrection Act and what it says. Now, first of all, just so that you understand, what we're facing here is you have a federal judge in Oregon, Karen Immergut, who now is completely tying the president's hands. The president now cannot enforce immigration policy, cannot deport criminal illegal aliens, according to her, cannot go into sanctuary cities, cannot give any kind of federal help or relief to besieged ICE agents who are being attacked, assaulted, shot at. According to her, we have to allow Antifa to run wild and essentially allow Chicago to be a stomping ground for Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and violent criminals. That's essentially now what the Democrats and this rogue judiciary are trying to tell us. So there has been an order issued. She is blocking Trump from deploying any National Guard troops from any state, even though Texas has now volunteered 400 National Guard troops. She says no. Texas can all volunteer what they want. Trump can deploy whoever can order whatever he wants. Pete Hegseth can say the Pentagon was ready to go in. It doesn't matter. You don't run Oregon. I run Oregon. That's the arrogance now of this judge. So you tell me if we have a constitutional crisis or not. Now, according to the Insurrection Act, this is what it says. Quote, now please pay attention. Now, it's written in that kind of older English, okay? But, it's clear. It's crystal clear. Anybody, if you can read English, you know exactly what the Insurrection Act allows the president to do in a time such as now. Quote, whenever the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages, meaning a group of people assembling together, or rebellion against the authority of the United States, make it impracticable, here it comes now, to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he, meaning the president, may call into federal service such of the militia of any state, i.e. the National Guard, and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or to suppress the rebellion. Now, I don't know how much freaking clearer. It's almost as if the founding fathers 250 years ago said, okay, let's look in our crystal ball. Let's look. Chicago. I'm hearing Chicago. Yes. Hold on, guys. I'm hearing Portland. Really? Yeah, I'm telling you, there's a city, Portland, way on. We're going to get the Pacific Coast. No. Yeah, we're going to go all the way to the Pacific. Anyway, Portland. Yeah, Portland. Oh my God, look what they're going to do to protect illegals. No. Let's write this. Let's write the Insurrection Act. Here it is. It's almost like it's written for today and what's happening. Now, what you have, okay, in Chicago and Portland now being the most conspicuous, egregious examples. You have far leftists, unhinged leftists. Frankly, Antifa is a designated terrorist group. They're part of these leftists. They have made it's clear, difficult, frankly impossible at times, to enforce our nation's immigration laws. Now, on top of that, ICE agents and officers have been assaulted, they've been attacked, they've been shot at. Now, there's only one conclusion. States like Illinois, states like Oregon, cities like Chicago and Portland, they're in rebellion. They are openly doing what they can to frustrate the enforcement of federal law, which violates the Insurrection Act. So, as I said in my opening monologue, look, whether we want to admit it or not, this is now the reality we live in. We are now in a constitutional crisis. We have many states and many cities. They are acting to make difficult or frankly impossible the enforcement of one of the most important aspects of our nation's law, immigration. They're not allowing us to enforce the law and to enforce deportations. That is clearly what the American people voted for, what the Supreme Court has said yes, what countless judges have said yes, and what is in the full authority and power of the American president and the executive branch. Now, I think the Supreme Court, in the end, is going to side with Trump. I think there's no question. But I think now, if what Trump should do is invoke the Insurrection Act and say, look, this is it. I'm declaring a national emergency. I'm invoking the Insurrection Act. We're going to send in troops. We're sending in the DOJ. We're sending in the FBI. We're sending in the DHS. And if anybody gets in our way, they're going to be arrested. Pritzker's going to get arrested. Brandon Johnson's going to get arrested. That crazy pro-Antifa mayor in Portland is going to get arrested. Governor Tina Kotek, that other moon. I thought Healy was crazy. Holy mackerel. She can give Maura Healey a run for her money. I'm telling you. We've got some serious competition now. I thought it was just Gavin Newsom and Pigster up in Illinois. No, I'm telling you, oh my God, is she crazy? I think she may even be crazier than I think their moonbats may be crazier than our moonbats. Arrest them all. Antifa, arrest them on the spot. On the freaking spot. Anybody surrounding an ICE facility, arrest them. Enough with this garbage. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Okay, let's unleash the hounds, as they say. Open it up to the great audience of Kuhner Country. Should Trump invoke the Insurrection Act? Justin in New Hampshire. You're going to kick us off, Justin. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Jeff? So I feel he needs to get off his butt and do it. And not only do it, but he should also federalize all unregulated militias also. And if anybody stands in the way or gets violent, they shouldn't be arrested. They should be effing killed. Enough is enough. Go by the rules of the left. An insurrectionist deserves to die. Send them packing.
Well, under January 6th, they raided people's homes without any due process. I'm just telling you what they did. They threw people in jail, put them in solitary confinement. Many of them were left rotting there for years. They never even knew what they were charged with. So I'm just saying, by what they, by the precedent they set, Justin, Trump goes with the Insurrection Act. I don't think the Democrats are going to like it. Justin, will Trump do it? And will Pam Bondi back him? What say you?
I think he's, to quiet the naysayers, I think he's going to hold back and wait for it.
Yeah, I fear you're probably right. He should invoke the Insurrection Act. I think he's missing a huge opportunity here. Okay, here it is, my friends. Just to show you how bad the situation now is getting. So, again, very quickly, over the weekend, there was an ambush of ICE agents in Broadville, Illinois. It is a suburb of Chicago, just on the western side. That is where a major ICE facility detention center is being daily now. There's protests, frankly, attacks. They are cordoning off and blocking access to this facility. And so there was a routine Border Patrol raid about to take place. The vehicles were going towards an apartment with Trendararagua members in it. 10 vehicles from anti-ICE activists surrounded the ICE cars. Then they boxed them in, and then they took their vehicles and rammed into the cars. One of the people ramming the cars was a woman who had a semi-automatic rifle on her. She got out of the car. ICE agents now were convinced she was going to start, just unloading on these ICE vehicles. They fired defensive shots. She was wounded, taken to the hospital. A massive crowd of militant leftists and Antifa supporters surrounded the ICE agents. There was about 30 ICE Border Patrol agents. They were completely outnumbered. The crowd was angry, almost hysterical, seething, screaming, shouting profanities. Many of them were saying, "Kill the mother effers," meaning ICE agents, "Kill the mother effers." And they asked for help from law enforcement. Here is now what we know took place. The order now was given by the police commanders. prohibiting rank-and-file Chicago police from aiding ICE agents who were surrounded by protesters. The National Fraternal Order of Police has now condemned Chicago police commanders for telling rank-and-file officers, stand down, do not render any assistance. According to the National Fraternal Order of Police, when an officer calls for assistance, you answer no matter what. You'd think. Bill Malugin, Fox News, I want to give him a big hat tip. He now says multiple law enforcement sources within the Chicago Police Department now confirm that Chicago police officers were instructed by their chief of patrol to not respond to the Border Patrol's agents' call for help on Saturday morning. In fact, they even have the direct order. They've leaked the actual order where the chief of patrol tells all local units, quote, I'm reading to you straight from the order that they received, no units will respond to this. And they're saying that there are 30 armed Border Patrol agents who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting Chicago Police Department. And he says, again, no units will respond to this. He left them twisting in the wind. Now, I'm telling you that the police chief would not have given this order because this would cost him his job and his career if this wasn't directly authorized by that crazy moonbat mayor, Brandon Johnson, and by Pigster, by Porky Pig, okay, by Pritzker himself, the governor. And one last final point, you need to know this. The woman that was leading this flotilla of cars, and it was an ambush. They were planning an ambush. There's no question. The one that was ramming the ICE vehicles, the one with the semi-automatic, she apparently was placed on an intelligence bulletin by Immigration and Border Protection on one of their intelligence bulletins last week, saying, urging people on social media and in emails, telling people the addresses of ICE agents involved in making arrests in the Chicago area. She was, quote unquote, doxing them, giving them their names, their identities, where they live, their addresses, the names of their family members. And what she was telling Antifa, listen to this, was, quote, I got to clean it up, F these mother effers up. It's time to take the war to them. F these mother effers up. She's basically saying, kill them. Kill them. Here are their names. Here are their addresses. Here's where they live. Take them out. Kristi Noem has now come out. Listen to this. The drug cartels, Tren de Aragua, Antifa, working together, have now put bounties on the heads of ICE agents engaged in these deportations. You get paid now. $2,000 for a kidnapping, $10,000 for a murder. So if you kill an ICE agent, hey, viva la revolucion. $10,000 cash money, baby. Cash money. If you kidnap one, and I don't know, torture him or beat him or her or whatever, you get $2,000. And you're going to tell me, A, this is not a constitutional crisis, and B, this is not an actual insurrection, a rebellion? 617-266-6868. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, in the Pittsburgh area. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing, buddy?
Very well. Listen, thank the Lord I'm not an ICE agent in Chicago or Portland, Dave. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, our ICE agents here in Pittsburgh do a fairly good job, Jeff, and they do have the support of the See, here in Pennsylvania, like you guys don't have any more county government back there, like the Suffolk County Sheriff. Our Allegheny Sheriff's Department, who's the head of the Allegheny Police, the county police, they help out the ICE guys all the time. They work in tandem, and they're like the Avengers, Jeff, if I can make a comparison. They go in there, kick ass, and take names and get rid of the illegals around here. Now in Portland and in Chicago, like Tony Montana would say, Chicago, man. All right, Jeff? It's time to get rid of these idiots and at the same time arrest the frickin' mayor and that damn governor, Fat Boy. You know?
Well, Dave, I got to tell you, and I want to ask you this because I'm getting a lot of mixed, sort of, I don't know, contrary points of view from the audience so far. At least I'm going by the text line 70470 and by the emails that I'm getting. Half the audience, I would say, is you and I. Throw the book at these guys, invoke the Insurrection Act. They stand in your way. It's time to just make arrests. Enough is enough. But the other half, and I think they have a very strong argument, to be honest, is, well, the people of Chicago voted for this. The people of Illinois voted for this. The people of Portland voted for this. The people of Oregon voted for this. So if they want violent criminal illegals, if this is what they want, if they want these murderers and gangbangers and drug dealers and rapists to control their streets, and if they want Antifa to continue to destroy Portland's, downtown core, then if they want it, let them have it. In other words, just stand back and let them destroy themselves. If this is what these people want, give them what they want. If they want murderers and they want, the drug cartels and Tren de Aragua and Antifa, then give it to them. And in the end, it's their funeral. They're going to have to live with these animals. What say you, Dave?
I'm kind of in a way, can I make a correlation, if I may, real quick, Jeff?
Yes, Dave.
Is the fact that just like with the government shutdown, and I know it's an irrelevant subject, but I'm going to bring it in. Just like you said, Jeff, the Democrats want this. They voted for this. They want the shutdown. Let them have it, Jeff. But don't go around blaming the left. Like my congresswoman here, Summer Lee. I call her Dummerly. Okay, Jeff? She could be one of the squad because, she's a racist. And I'm not saying this because she's black, but she happens to play the race card, And all the guys on the Facebook page, I call her on. And I'm like, you know what? I don't call you Summerly. I call you Dummerly. Because, Jeff, just don't come after ICE and don't come after the people who are there illegally when we're trying to deport them. That's what we voted for, Jeff.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah, that's what the country voted for. We voted to clean up these cesspools and end these sanctuary cities and deport all these illegal aliens. And furthermore, Dave, I would just say this. Okay, yes, many in Chicago did vote for this, for Brandon Johnson and for, Pigster and Tina Kotek out in Oregon. But many people didn't either. There's a lot of good, decent people in Chicago and in Illinois. Why do they? They're American citizens. They're entitled to equal protection under the law. They're entitled to have safe streets. They don't have to live with these animals in their neighborhoods. In fact, I'm going to play this later. Pigster is denying. He's literally denying this is happening, but it's, we have it on tape. You have black residents in Chicago literally coming onto the streets, clapping, cheering, thanking ICE agents for coming in and getting rid of these illegal alien drug dealers and the cartels and Tren de Aragua who are terrorizing their apartment buildings and neighborhoods. And the media is not showing you that. So, they live in America. They don't want this. They deserve better life than this. So that's why I say, no, invoke the Insurrection Act and go after them with everything you have. Just Go after them. Dave, as always, dynamite call. Thank you so much, Dave. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Okay, listen now. This is Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Secretary. She was on Fox News, and she said, I don't know what planet Brandon Johnson, that crazy mayor in Chicago, and the pigster, J.B. Pritzker, Porky Pig, what planet they're living on. But on the streets, when ICE goes into these neighborhoods, they are welcomed as heroes by the residents who are the victims of crime. Roll cut 6, Mike.
On the streets are clapping as we do our work. They're clapping as these officers are arresting these bad criminals. This is a war zone. His city is a war zone, and he's lying so that criminals can go in there and destroy people's lives. Where we have gone, we've made it much more free. People are much safer.
She's completely right. She's completely right. Jeff in Lawrence. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jeff?
Good. I wasn't aware that ICE was being attacked like this. Aren't these guys armed with automatic weapons?
Well, they did. They fired defensive shots, and the woman that was, leading this ambush, she had a semi-automatic. She got shot. She was shot. She was taken to the hospital, and it was non-life-threatening. They didn't kill her. But ICE is saying, look, why does it have to come to this? We don't want to go around shooting people. Police should have been there to protect us. We're just there to do immigration raids. We're not there now to start, we're going to start fighting anti-ICE activists? Look at it from their point of view. So it's just what they're doing now, Jeff, is they're making life so difficult for ICE that they just want them to give up. And I'm sorry, Jeff, but deporting violent, criminal, illegal aliens, the worst of the worst, that's what they're targeting. It shouldn't be this difficult, man. Trump has every right to deploy the National Guard into Portland. The judge is blocking him. Why? He has the right to deploy the National Guard into Chicago. He has the right to send in ICE agents. Yet they're literally, it's like trench warfare. They can't even drive down a street. And now they're being ambushed. Vehicles are blocking them off, boxing them in, and then taking their cars like out of a Hollywood movie. And bang! And just ramming their cars into ICE vehicles. Someone is going to get shot. Someone is going to get killed. And I think what these anti-ICE leftists want, to be brutally honest, Jeff, is they want ICE to lose their cool, and they want to trigger a massacre. That's what they want. They want 4, 5, 6, 7 dead to just so foment anger and hatred in the country so that then ICE has to back out of all these sanctuary cities. But anyway, what say you, Jeff?
Jeff, either Antifa is a terrorist organization or not. And if that were to happen, then guess what? The president needs to double down and crush these people. And you know what? I think it was during the Reagan administration, there was a presidential order that was enacted. It was an emergency order. It gave the president essentially the authority to take over the media, radio, all media, radio, TV, everything. Energy, the energy industry, and it's basically like martial law. I don't see why the president didn't do that in 2020, because you could make a very strong argument that, okay, yeah, states are independent, cities are independent. However, all of these cities are integral to our nation's economy. And, he obviously maybe didn't have the experience back then. He was probably concerned about, the election coming up, understandably so. But that should have been nipped in the bud way back then. The gloves are off as far as I'm concerned. He's got the clock is ticking. He's got this inept, attorney general that she should have been tossed out on her ear a month or two ago. And, let's take care of this now. And, okay, are the optics bad to have a massacre? Possibly, but again, these are terrorists, period, end of story. The quickest way to put an end to this is to get rid of them all.
Well, I think that's why he's going to have no choice. I think he's going to have to invoke the Insurrection Act. I mean, they're almost forcing his hand now. And, and I think what Trump wants to do is he wants to go to the Supreme Court, have the Supreme Court give him full legal authority to deploy the National Guard into Oregon. And then I'm telling you, Antifa is going to go absolutely berserk. They're going to go berserk because they've now been running parts of Portland for so long. It's theirs. Like, they just consider it theirs. So they look at the troops, I'm not kidding, as federal National Guard troops, as quote unquote invaders. So this is gonna blow up on the street. And then Trump's gonna use that as the pretext to invoke the Insurrection Act. I think that's what they're doing. That's if I'm to gauge their game plan, I think this is their game plan. I would go now. I wouldn't wait. I agree with you, Jeff. But I'm just saying that's how I think how they're going to play this thing out. To me, what is just unacceptable is remember who they're defending. So you don't want murderers off the streets? You don't want MS-13 off the streets? Really, you don't want drug cartels and drug dealers and literally rapists off the streets? That when ICE is going out to make raids, that's who they're going to arrest. And you're impeding and blocking them? And not only that, you're throwing rocks at them, you're assaulting them, you're beating them, you're shooting at them? Here, let me just play you another cut. Jeff, thank you very much for that call. Here, okay, this is, again, Porky Pig. So here's Pigster. Okay, this is Pritzker on with Jake Tapper. Now, listen to this. So he's going on about how ICE is making stuff up and they're waging a war against American citizens and innocent civilians and on and on. So listen to what he tells Tapper. Look at the way now the Democrats are inciting, inflaming, and literally lying through their teeth. All Pritzker does is two things. Eat, and lie. That's all this guy knows. I'm telling you, like Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars, if you ever saw Star Wars. That's all this guy's good for. I'm telling you. Okay, here's Pritzker. Roll cut 5A. Mike.
These are the same folks who killed a person, unarmed person, just a couple of weeks ago in Franklin Park. At first, they said that the officer had been threatened with his life. The reality of it and the truth of it has now come out, and that wasn't the case. They killed somebody. So here, it's really hard to know exactly what the facts are, and they won't let us access the facts. They are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
Okay, now, do you know what he's talking about? This thing in Franklin Park? So they go, oh, they killed an activist who was unarmed. So you're thinking, oh my God, these guys are ICE agents. They're out of control. They're just like, bang, 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 bang. It's like hunting for them. They're just going out there and shooting anybody they can. This guy, like what happened over the weekend, this militant leftist used his vehicle as a weapon. He rammed an ICE agent with his car. Yeah, he was an illegal alien. I'm sorry, forgive me. He was an illegal alien, okay? And he rammed an ICE agent. He ran him over. He plowed into him with his car. And then he dragged him under the car. The ICE agent was being dragged to death under his car. So ICE agents had no choice. They had to shoot the guy. What are they going to do? Just let him, what? Well, you want to just let him keep on driving and kill the ICE agent? 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are jammed. Ken in Georgia. Thanks for holding, Ken, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good, good. How are you, Ken?
Doing good. I think we're in a hot civil war right now. I think what they're waiting for is what you said, is for the Guard to be federalized, going to Portland. I think he wants to send in the Texas National Guard. By then, I think Newsom and probably the governor of Oregon will say, yeah, we're being invaded. They'll turn on their National Guard. Your thoughts?
Well, that's my fear. It's clear now that they've taken now their so-called resistance to Trump to a completely different level now. And look, this is not just you. This is Bill Glenn. If you don't know who Bill Glenn is, he's one of the most brilliant constitutional lawyers in the entire country. He's a commentator. He writes on Powerline, which is one of the best blogs in the country. And he's not a bomb thrower. I mean, this is a highly intelligent, very well-read man, very sober judgment. And this is what he wrote over the weekend. Cold civil war runs hot. Basically, your point. We're pretty much beginning a civil war. And he just says, look, he says, I'm just going to point to you facts. Antifa attacks ICE facility in Portland. Portland braces for federal troops as protests escalate and a conservative influencer is arrested. Portland police sergeant, and this is true, appears to criticize assault victims for antagonizing anti-ICE protesters. Remember, Antifa and these other far-left protesters didn't just attack ICE. They were literally beating up anybody else who was standing there protesting in defense of ICE. And the police sergeant came out and said, well, they shouldn't have been there. To which everybody else said, well, why is Antifa allowed to be there? So Antifa and the militant, hardcore left, they can be there every night. But if counter-protesters show up, then that gives them the right to take sticks and smash their skulls in? Like, that's okay for you guys? And you're the police, for God's sake? He then continues. Trump defies federal court, sends 300 California National Guard troops to Portland. DHS says, this is Chicago. He says, DHS says officers in Chicago fired at driver who rammed a law enforcement vehicle. Trump now deploys 300 troops to Chicago after armed woman who rammed Border Patrol agents is shot as ICE protests escalate. Chicago police now ordered to ignore Border Patrol agents' plea for help while surrounded by an angry mob of protesters. And then apparently now an anti-ICE activist, this was in Washington, D.C. Apparently he was from New Jersey originally, but he was arrested for having a Molotov cocktail outside a D.C. church during a high-profile mass. He apparently was there to attack people that he thought were either ICE agents or responsible for the mass deportation policy. So, and he says, quote, this is how he ends, please do not downplay the gravity of the current situation. He's basically saying what you're saying. It's a cold civil war that's starting to go hot. And I think you're right. I think what they want to do now is they want to pit law enforcement against law enforcement. And so what they're going to do is, if they call in the National Guard, if they call in the federal troops, Pritzker and Johnson are going to order the local police and the state police to fire on the National Guard. And again, if you think I'm exaggerating, here's the mayor. This is the mayor of Chicago. Now you tell me, does this guy seem stable, sane, and not itching for a fight? This is what he said. He went on MS Left BC, and he's telling them they're going to defend every so-called resident. That means illegal alien. So if Trump sends in the National Guard, Chicago is going to declare a full-blown insurrection, and they're going to stand their ground, and they're going to oppose the National Guard and oppose ICE agents with everything they have. Roll cut 8. This is Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago. Roll cut 8, Mike.
Tensions are certainly high in the city of Chicago. What the president is doing is absolutely dangerous and unconstitutional. But our position is clear. We're going to remain resolved and firm in our position to protect the rights of all of our residents,
i.e. illegal aliens, even criminal illegal aliens. And then listen to the fear-mongering now, okay? And listen to how he ends. You could tell, man, this reminds me of the 1850s in the South. Roll cut 8A, Mike. Mike, you said we had a minute. Okay, all right, I'll play it on the other side. Okay, anyway, he basically says that ICE agents now, listen to this, are kidnapping black people, killing black people, targeting black people, which is a complete lie, and that Trump is now, by sending in the National Guard, this is now a dictatorship. 617-266-6868. So Trump now is going to be sending in 300 National Guard troops into Chicago in particular, and other areas around Chicago. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson now say, we will not let that happen, period. Roll cut 8A, Mike.
There are a number of people, including the President of the United States of America, that have decided to declare war on poor people and on working people across the country. And this raid that you are describing was on the south side of Chicago, where black folks live. And it is evident that this is not about safety. It's not about deportation. This is about the President of the United States of America and his kind that are looking to stoke and foment chaos and fear within our streets of cities across America. But we're going to remain firm, and we're going to fight back against this tyranny.
I mean, this is, and I mean, look, I'm going to call it the way I see it. I think the mayor and the governor are behind a lot of these attacks now on ICE. I think there's no question. I think the ambushes, the attacks on ICE vehicles, the assault on ICE agents, clearly now these coordinated, now they're using vehicles to box them in and ram them. ICE agents are being tracked. They're being doxxed. Their identities are being released, their addresses, their home where they live, their homes, and activists are saying go and kill them. I think there's no question. This goes all the way to the top. And when you have the Chicago Police Department now being ordered, in fact, now they've released the dispatches, where the dispatches are telling the Chicago police, don't go and bail out these Border Patrol and ICE agents now after they've been attacked, and now they're surrounded by a massive crowd. An angry, seething crowd. Don't, you leave them. You let them be. Let them twist in the wind. They're on their own. I think this is no question now. This is coming straight from them. And now they're talking, this is coming from the mayor's office. Quote, we will meet violence with violence. Terror with terror. It's time to invoke the Insurrection Act. I think there's no question. So, look, this is happening in Portland. It's happening elsewhere. But those are the two cities now where it's really dramatically escalated. 617-266-6868 is the number. And they're talking about a raid, just so that you know. There was a building in the south side of Chicago. The apartment building, yes, there were many black residents, of course, but they weren't the ones being targeted. It was a building that was taken over by Tren de Aragua. Remember, they use other people, civilians, as human shields. And so they were using that building as a base of operations, prostitution, drug dealing, drug trafficking, extortion. That's what they do. And so let me just quickly play the cut. It wasn't just Brandon Johnson. It was Porky Pig. So there's Pigster. And Pigster's going nuts. He's running to MSNBC, and he's saying, oh, my God, people, children were tied up, children, black people, they were being treated like bad guys. They were being held for hours. So listen now to Pritzker. This, by the way, wasn't on MSNBC. This was on CNN. This is CNN with Fake Tapper. Listen to this load of BS. Roll cut 7A. Mike.
People are getting detained. They're getting arrested. U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members. And instead, they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
So Trender Aragua is not the worst of the worst? And then he says, well, they were going after a few gang people. Actually, no, they were going after dozens of gangbangers who have occupied that building, which you won't do anything about. And they're terrorizing the residents of that building and the residents of that neighborhood. You phony, you fraud, you. And then on top of that, he makes it seem like the children, like they were basically put like in plastic handcuffs, like, they were zip tied. No. When you see the little munchkins, kindergarten or pre-K, and the teachers want to make sure they have them all together. So, they're all they're like a cord or whatever, a little line or whatever, some kind of piece of plastic where you put it around all of their wrists and as they walk so no one gets lost. That's what ICE put on those kids. Literally, it was like a cord around all their wrists so no one could take them. They couldn't just walk away or just suddenly, walk off somewhere. And as for the elderly people, they gave them blankets. They told them to sit in cars and wait while they were going floor to floor, floor after floor, door to door, cleaning out Trender Aragua. And those black residents were cheering the ICE agents on, saying, thank you, what took you so long? So what are they supposed to do? Now think about it. You're supposed to leave the children and the residents, the elderly, in the building as you go after them? Well, what if there's a gunfight? What if there's a shootout? What if one of these Trender Aragua thugs escapes and gets into another neighboring apartment building and then holds one of these elderly people hostage or these children hostage and starts cutting their throats? What would Pritzker be saying then? I'll tell you what Fat Boy would be saying, okay? But you have to first haul him out of the Golden Corral. So you get him out of the Golden Corral, and then, as he's wiping his mouth, he would say, why didn't they clear the apartment building first? Why didn't they put these people on the street, in a car, outside, and then went door to door? That's what Fatso would be saying. I'm sorry, but this is disgusting. And then let me just say this. Again, with the lies, the monstrous lies, the bull, I swear, and it's piled so high. Honestly, if you want a bull, you know what? A BS sandwich, we should just call it now the Pritzker sandwich. Because, man, he likes to pile it high. Oh, does he like it high? So, these guys now, they're detaining American citizens. They're arresting American citizens. They're just sending them off somewhere in El Salvador. They're being deported. Name me one. No, one. Just one. One. You keep saying so many. Fine. Just one. Name me one American citizen that has been falsely deported to El Salvador. You can't name me. Name me one American citizen that has been, quote unquote, disappeared off the streets. One American citizen that was locked up for hours, detained. You can't even name me one, BSer. I mean, the lie and the lie and the lie and the lie, it just doesn't stop. Send in the National Guard, invoke the Insurrection Act, and if Fat Boy stands in your way, arrest his ass. Okay? And no, I'm sorry, I'm a humane man. Give him a double prison, because he's a big guy. So I'll tell you what, for him, let him occupy 2 cells. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, lines are blazing. I'm going to go right to the phone lines. But first, let me ask you the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Has the Department of Homeland Security overstepped its authority in Chicago, and in Portland? That's what a federal district judge says. That's what the Moonbats say. That's what Pritzker and Brandon Johnson in Chicago and Illinois say. I want to know, what say you? A, yes. B, no. You know my position on this. Hell no. If anything, it's time to go Insurrection Act. But anyway, A, yes, B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in National ER. You can also vote via X, and yes, I was active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHNER, at the Kuhner Report. Let's go to Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I think today I'm going to give you some Caller of the Week freaking material. Let me tell you. Okay, first of all, Jeff, you had mentioned earlier that, can you imagine if the local police or the mayor or governor ordered their police to fire on National Guard or military? I mean, Jeff, can these people get more stupid? Do they not realize that the majority of police officers are former military and will never fire on another brother or sister? They would quit their job first before they did that.
I think you're dead on.
And have you seen, Jeff, the commercials now on TV? Attention law enforcement. And no matter, what city it lives in, say Boston, New York, or whatnot, come join ICE. We'll give you a $50,000 signing bonus and the best benefits you could possibly imagine. I want to know how many of them already took that offer. But you know what, Jeff? If that's not bad enough, okay, I just want to say that Trump is the one that has to go to the Supreme Court? No. What Trump should do is ignore the federal judge's order. Let them go to the Supreme Court because they're the ones that are breaking the law. Trump is trying to uphold the law and uphold the Constitution of the freaking United States.
Mark, as usual, you're on fire. I'm telling you, you're absolutely on fire. Mark, I've got to ask you this. We knew it was bad in 2020 when Antifa and Black Lives Matter, I mean, they ran wild. Burning, looting, rioting, city after city after city. But this is now 5 years later. And there's no George Floyd. This is just them now, which to me is just incredible. Surrounding ICE buildings, ICE facilities, and telling ICE, you can't get out, you can't get in, you can't arrest people, we're not even going to let you come to the ICE detention center and get these, criminal illegals processed, they are directly preventing and impeding ICE agents from enforcing the law and deporting the most vile criminal illegal aliens. And what, the country is just supposed to stand back and take it? In other words, what, they're going to override an election? They're going to override a duly elected president? They're going to override the executive branch? They're going to override the Constitution and the laws of the United States? So basically what they're trying to tell us is that Antifa is running America? That the dinky mayors of Portland and Chicago and that slob in Illinois, Pritzker, that basically now they run the United States of America? And if we don't agree, they're going to employ their street thugs and start shooting up ICE agents and shooting up ICE cars and ramming them and boxing them in? I mean, Mark, did you ever think you would live to see the day that essentially Marxist militias, and that's what they are just roaming the biggest cities of the United States and are saying, yeah, we know the police don't run anything here. The mayor doesn't run anything. The government doesn't run anything. The feds don't run anything. We run this city. It's like something out of a Hollywood movie. Did you ever think you would see this in the United States of America, Mark?
But apparently our forefathers foresee it. They foresaw this, okay? Because they wrote the Insurrection Act. So, God bless them. And Trump should use it, Jeff. That's my opinion.
Oh, I'm with you. Do you think he will? That's the question now.
Jeff, I think he will, because these people need to realize that once you threaten federal employees, harm federal employees, damage federal facilities, shoot on federal facilities, I'm sorry, but Mr. Governor, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chief of Police, but you have no more jurisdiction when it comes to that. So you know what? You're up Poops Creek without a paddle, because now the president and the government takes over.
Oh, very well said. Mark, extremely well said. Mark, thank you very much for that call. I agree with him. Not 100, 1,000%. 1,000%. To me, I'm looking at this completely the opposite. I'm like, what are you people arguing about? Like, what are you arguing about? You're not protecting ICE. You're not protecting basic federal buildings. You're allowing these people, like in L.A., I mean, all that's missing now in Chicago, and it's going to come, and in Portland, is, the people with the masks, like the Halloween mask, like the skull masks, and doing donuts in a motorcycle. Remember, like in L.A.? And waving the Mexican flag. Like that's it. Like literally, that's all that's missing is the motorcycle with the donut. Just keep doing the donut, and instead of the Mexican flag, like the hammer and sickle for Antifa. There it is. The hammer and sickle. That's the only thing that's missing. I mean, I don't want to, look, I read it earlier. I don't want to read it again. It's like word for word for word. I'm looking like, oh my God. It's like they anticipated 2025 when they wrote the Insurrection Act. So, no, honestly, I think Trump has no choice. Let me ask all of you this. This is my sense. I think they want another Kent State. In other words, where the Army or the National Guard fired upon anti-war protesters, some of them were killed, and it just created this massive backlash. And they want to manufacture another Kent State. That was during the Vietnam War, obviously. But provoke ICE, ram them, box them in, shoot at them, assault them, and then the local police are being told, don't help them. Leave them on their own. I don't care how big or how hostile the crowd gets. Just leave them on their own. Leave them on their own. Because one of them is going to lose their nerve or get twitchy with the gun or whatever it is, start pulling the trigger, and we're going to see 3, 4, 5 dead. And then the media will pounce, the Democrats will pounce, and then before you know it, ICE are now a bunch of mass murderers. So I think what they're really trying to do is they're really trying to instigate, create a massive crisis by having ICE overreact. And that's why they're just applying more pressure and more pressure and more pressure and more pressure until something just snaps. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Annie on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Annie?
I'm good, Jeff. There's a lot going on, but I also saw that we had a situation in Boston where they set one of our cruisers on fire, and then, they also had an incident in Randolph where, you know what, Jeff, it's gotten out of hand. I'm going to ask you a question. What will it take to declare martial law in the United States of America to bring it back to the true people that live in this country?
I think we're very close now. Annie, I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. And, again, what I just find shocking, look, to me, you deport every single illegal alien. Every single one of them, because they broke our laws and they have no right to be here. Period. Full stop. But we're not talking about a mom with children or whatever, some elderly landscaper or I don't know, whatever. We're talking about MS-13, Trender Aragua. I'm talking about human traffickers, murderers, rapists, some of the most vile, dangerous, heinous criminals you can imagine that were allowed in by the previous administration, by the millions and millions and millions. And you're gonna go to the barricades for them? You're gonna wage an insurrection for them? You're gonna tear potentially this country apart for them? But then, to be honest, I was thinking about it last night, Annie. The last time the Democrats took us down the road to a potential civil war, and I hope it doesn't happen, but the last time they did this to us, what was it over? Human bondage. Chattel. Slavery. Saying people are chattel. And you could do whatever you want to them. So, you ask yourself, you're going to wage a civil war over that? Well, if they can wage it over slavery, they can certainly wage it over protecting criminal illegal aliens. And so, like the Republicans who unified the country the first time, Donald Trump now is going to have to follow in Lincoln's footsteps and say, this is an insurrection, and this is a rebellion, and we're going to put this thing down. Period. Now, we want to do it peacefully. We don't want blood on the streets. We're not Democrats. But we're going to send in the National Guard, and from this point forward, ICE agents are going to have around-the-clock military protection. They're going to have an armed escort. When they go on raids, in case you guys want to ram them, box them in, ambush them, shoot at them, attack them, assault them, all the things they do. Now you're going to be dealing with the U.S. military because we can't trust the local police, not because of the local police officers, because they want to help ICE, but because of these woke, politicized police chiefs who are taking orders from these sanctuary city mayors and these sanctuary state governors. So, okay, if we can't trust now the local police department, we're going to call in the military. In other words, you wanted a fight, we're going to give you a fight. You want a constitutional crisis? We're going to give you a constitutional crisis. And mark my words, Annie, Trump is going to win at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, not even 5-4, it's going to be 6-3. The Supreme Court is going to give Trump full constitutional legal authority to send in the National Guard anywhere he wants on behalf of ICE. And if Trump says, I'm invoking the Insurrection Act, the Supreme Court will uphold it. And then what are the Democrats going to do? Really, what are they going to do? You want to be in open defiance of the law, of the president, of the American people, of the executive branch, of the Constitution, of the Supreme Court? And all the while, we got a government shutdown. And in public opinion, they're getting destroyed in the government shutdown. Because when you press them, I swear to you, you couldn't make this up, Annie. They're not just fighting for free health care for illegal aliens. That's their price. Okay, taxpayer-funded health care for illegals. But did you see something, all the other stuff now that's come out? They want $3.6 million for cooking and dance workshops, I swear to you, for male prostitutes in Haiti. Not just poor people in Haiti. No. Male prostitutes in Haiti. When I read this, I'm like, no, they must mean like, I don't know, condoms or whatever. Something. No. Cooking and dance workshops. Like, why do they need to do yoga? Like, we're paying for them to do yoga or cook rice? Like, these people are nuts. So, I'm telling you, Annie, they're going down. What you're watching now in front of our eyes is the destruction of the Democratic Party. And all Trump now needs to do is just, you got him now by the throat, keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. Send in the National Guard. Let them go to the Supreme Court. Always be on offense, because on this issue, the American people are with President Trump all the way. Final word to you, Annie.
Jeff, I agree with every single thing that you had to say, but I'm going to say even one more. We have been allowing this. I mean, think about all of the burnings and stuff that took place in Portland, Oregon, and they're back again. It's just over and over. And as far as I am concerned, when I raised my children, I taught them they do not bully anyone. The Democratic Party are the biggest bullies in our country. And you know what, Jeff? That they're getting away with it. They should have been removed from office. The majority of them are criminals, and I'm calling them out. They are not here doing the work of the people. When you take and you aid and abet an enemy, you are the enemy. How do we expect them to do anything for this country? President Trump, I voted for you. I want my country back now. That's what I have to say, Jeff.
Annie, thank you very much for that call. Really, honestly, drop the mic. Here, you want to see how bad things are getting in Chicago? Like, it's petty. It's very petty. But this is what I mean. Like, it's getting ugly. You know, it's really getting ugly. It's getting vicious. So Kristi Noem went to that, that ICE facility, and she met with ICE agents. She met with border protection people. So she was in Chicago, and municipal staff at the government building in Chicago literally denied Kristi Noem access to the bathroom. They wanted her, forgive me, to pee her pants. The woman said, yeah, I just need to go to the restroom. And they wouldn't let her use the restroom. They would not let the Secretary of Homeland Security. To me, you let any American, hell, any human being. You need to use the bathroom? Obviously, go. Come on, we're human beings, for God's sake. Or the agents. You're right. They were not allowing Kristi Noem or any of the ICE agents to use the bathroom, to go to the bathroom. Because they wanted them to, forgive me, they wanted them to pee or soil their pants. Number one or number two. Listen now to Kristi Noem, literally being denied access to the bathroom, to the toilet. by municipal staff at a government building in Chicago. Roll cut 13, Mike.
Can we use the restroom? No, you cannot.
We can?
Please open the door. Please go back.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Interesting. That's what Governor Pritzker says is cooperation and keeping people safe.
Now, she was smart. Because, honestly, this is about your dignity as a human being. You got to go, you got to go. Like, I'm sorry, man. You got to go, you got to go. So, and see, that's what I mean. They wanted her to lose her cool. They wanted her to get angry. They wanted ICE agents to get angry. They want a physical confrontation. That's what they want. And she didn't give it to him. She was very smart. Okay, thank you. And then she made her point to the camera. But here, and then she was asked afterwards. Okay? Again, this is the Secretary of Homeland Security. She can't go to the toilet. They wouldn't let her go to the freaking toilet. So she's asked about the bathroom incident by a reporter. Listen to her response. Roll cut 13A, Mike.
So why wouldn't they let you in? What's been going on here? What's been going on here, Secretary?
We were coming to go out and do some operations to pick up some guys with criminal convictions on them, and the city police wouldn't even let us use a restroom.
And you were just blocked by a worker here for the city?
A worker at the municipal building here in Broadmoor would not allow us to go in and to use a restroom at the police station. So as much as these local leaders and governors talk about cooperating and having the backs of our law enforcement officers, this is what we have to put up with every single day.
This is what we have to put up with every single day. By the way, the taxpayers pay for that police station. We pay for that freaking toilet. We pay for that bathroom. That's our tax money that pays for that bathroom. And you can't let this woman go in and use the bathroom? This is Brandon Johnson's Chicago. This is Golden Corral's Illinois. Okay? Pritzker's Illinois. This is just a taste of what ICE is now dealing with, whether it be in Chicago, Portland, or other cities around the United States. And when Trump says, I'm calling in the National Guard, like this is just getting really out of hand. He's the bad guy. He's the dictator. He's the tyrant. Hitler! Fascism! Okay, this is from 781. And I think pretty much hits the nail on the head. Jeff, Trump should deploy enough federal troops to outnumber all of these anti-ICE protesters, surround them, arrest them, pull off their damn hoods, airlift them far away to process them, no bail, trace their funds, invoke RICO, and arrest George Soros and his son. I'm with you. I'm with you, 781. Go in hard, go in heavy, send in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these federal troops, surround them, outnumber them, arrest them, take off their hoods, especially these Antifa thugs, their masks and their hoods, send them to faraway places, have them processed like they did to the J6ers, no bail. And then find out who's funding them. Someone's paying for all this. This is not out of their own dime, on their dime, forgive me, or out of their own pocket. No way, Jose. And then start invoking RICO, and we all know that Soros is up to his eyeballs in all of this, him and his son. So, in other words, it's time to dismantle Antifa. Root and branch. They're a terrorist organization. Treat them now like a terrorist organization who are engaging in a full-blown insurrection. Agree, disagree. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, CJ.
What we need to remember is this began during Barack Obama. This is his transformation of America. Began with George Floyd, riots throughout this country. And this immigration issue is only an issue that the Democrats are using and the anti-Americans are using to go against our country. And the only way that they can achieve a one-party system here is to overthrow the government. And that's what their intent is here. Their intent is to use those people that are waving Mexican flags and Venezuelan flags and the Muslim issue and every other issue. You know, they call this a melting pot, but my dad used to say, you know, when you throw too much stuff into the pot, what eventually comes to the surface is the scum. And that's what's happened in America today. This is the scum. These are the anti-Americans. Well, Trump did designate Antifa an anti-terrorist group, a domestic terrorist group. So what he should be doing at this point right now is arresting these people and sending them to Guantanamo Bay, classifying them as enemy combatants, at which point they will lose all their rights to any defense or anything. Just hold them there permanently. And then to find out which is most important and who is financing this. Women called in previously, and I think the importance here is what's happening in our own backyard. Over the weekend, the Boston police vehicle was torched, was firebombed by a group of 100 people in the south end of Boston. Now, the mainstream media, and you know, I don't care too much for the mainstream media. They're reporting this as firecrackers. Say you have to take a look at this vehicle. No firecrackers set this vehicle up in flames. This vehicle was firebombed, and this is over 100 people. So when the Boston PD responds and they're attacked, where's their defense? Where is their defense? They will go after local Boston PD, only a short distance away, about 8 miles away in Randolph, Massachusetts. The same thing happened there. And they believe now that this is a coordinated effort. We need they've arrested 2 people here in Boston, and what we need is the head of the Justice Department in Boston to investigate these 2 people, classify these people as domestic terrorists. But I think it's important you send these people out of the country to Guantanamo Bay. Once you stop picking them up and shipping them out, where they don't have any legal representation and they can be held indefinitely, I think this will stop. As for Brandon Johnson and Pritzker, the governor of Chicago, what needs to be done here is they are definitely impeding a federal operation here, and they are protecting domestic terrorists. They are protecting groups who want to harm the citizens of this country. I think it's about time that they be arrested. They need to be arrested. We cannot have this country. If we can go down and President Trump in a matter of weeks can secure our southern border, to which hundreds of thousands of people were pouring in over the border, and he shut that down, and we're going to allow this to happen in major cities throughout the United States of America, where law-abiding citizens can't be safe in their own communities. I'm surprised that the blacks of Chicago don't raise up as they did when Brandon Johnson tried to impose a $300 million increase in taxes to support illegal immigrants. I am surprised that the blacks of Chicago are not standing up right now to protect their children and their families from what Brandon Johnson and Pritzker are doing to their city. They are the murder capital of the United States of America, and we are demanding action from President Trump. We are demanding that he take action immediately against these governors, these mayors, these local people in politics who are impeding the federal government.
Oh, it's an insurrection. You impede the federal government and the enforcement of the laws, federal laws. It's an insurrection. That's what they're doing, and I agree with you. That's what the Kuhner man is now saying. Go January 6 on them. 8:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. They talked about an insurrection after January 6, and they used it as a hammer to go after Trump, MAGA, conservatives. I mean, you name it, anybody. Well, this is a real insurrection, not a fake insurrection. And it's unfolding right in front of our eyes. This weekend was an absolute flashpoint. There is now no question. Portland and Chicago are basically now in open rebellion. And so my question to you, what should President Trump do? Does he have the right to send in federal troops? A judge has now blocked him from sending troops into Oregon. Pritzker now says they will block Trump from sending in 300 National Guard troops into Chicago. And the mayor now is saying sending any troops, deploying any National Guard troops will be considered an act of violence. 617-266-6868. Illegal immigration now, illegal immigration forever. That's the Democrats' war cry. And so, my question to all of you on this all-important issue, is Trump doing it right, step by step? Do you want him to be even more aggressive and invoke the Insurrection Act? Or do you think he's overstepped his authority? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now to Kristi Noem. Secretary of Homeland Security now says that they have intelligence showing there is an organized, systematic effort to target ICE agents. They have put bounties on their heads. $2,000 to kidnap an ICE agent, $10,000 to kill an ICE agent. Roll cut 14, Mike.
Very dangerous situation. And then in that situation as well, this individual had threatened them previously and had told them that they all needed to go down and shouted expletives at them. So our intelligence indicates that these people are organized. They're getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers, and they're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures. They've sent them between their networks, and it's an extremely dangerous situation and unprecedented.
It's dangerous and it's unprecedented, and it's only getting worse. And she's talking in particular about the woman that really led this ambush on Saturday morning in which 10 vehicles surrounded ICE vehicles. These were the militant leftists. They're essentially Antifa. They surrounded these ICE vehicles, boxed them in, rammed them, stopped them, and she got out of the car with an assault weapon. And ICE had to fire back in self-defense. Defensive shots were fired. In fact, there was like a war zone in Chicago. Shots were flying everywhere. She got wounded and she was sent to the hospital. And that's who Kristi Noem is talking about. But she has been calling now this woman. We don't know her identity yet, but it's going to be released. She has now been calling for ICE agents to be doxxed. And she's part of a larger effort now saying, we will pay you $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to murder them. You have to send in the National Guard. I don't see how you don't send the National Guard. 617-266-6868. Daryl in the great state of Georgia. Thanks for holding, Daryl, and welcome.
Thanks for taking my call, Jeff. Hey, kind of stole some of my thunder, a couple of guys. I got 2 points I want to quickly make because I'm at work right now. First one is, the police officers who are obeying a mayor are disobeying their prime directive is because they're supposed to serve and protect. And not only that, they have constitutional duty. They swear their allegiance to the Constitution of upholding it, just like the military does. They don't swear it to a mayor. Just like when I got sworn in to obey my superior officers and the president. But if that's in contradiction to the United States Constitution, you have the right to disobey it. So they're fools in Chicago, Portland, wherever, if they follow this. But not only that, and the second thing I wanted to get about is since you gave the definition of what an insurrection is, why don't they go ahead and have the FBI lock up some of these federal judges? Because they themselves are interfering with federal business. If they're ordering stuff unconstitutionally, lock up some of these judges. And I think that's what they ought to do. But the problem is, Democrats that had Biden or Obama or somebody been in office, they go against anybody. in a heartbeat. But how come it's always been when us conservatives in the office, we're just lazy about enforcing our constitutional rights? We want to go through the courts and back and forth. You know, the courts are not going to be in our favor. It takes so long. And how long are you going to be waiting around for other people to get injured and hurt, or some ICE agents to get killed before you finally decide, hey, I'm going to put my foot down and do something? You should be doing something right now. Don't wait. You don't ignore it.
I'm so with you. And look, that judge, her name is Karen Immergut. Immergut. She's the one that's issued this comprehensive injunction or block, a restraining order, if you want to use a technical legal term, on Trump, if you can believe it, saying you can't send any National Guard troops into Oregon. Not just the, Oregon National Guard. He wanted to send them in from California. She blocked him. Texas said, fine, take ours. We'll give you 400. Literally, Governor Abbott said, here, take them. I'm signing an order giving you permission. Here's these 400 National Guard troops from Texas. Do with them what you will. You can federalize them and deploy them to Oregon. Trump said, fine, I'll do that. She's blocked that. And I agree with you. She is now part of the insurrection. The judge now is clearly part of the insurrection. And so that's why if you invoke the Insurrection Act, then you could arrest the judge. Now, I think to be fair, look, Trump knows he's got the media against him, the Democrats, public relations. So I think what he wants to do, and I'm with you, Darrell, I would do it now. But I think his people are saying, no, let's just get all our ducks in a row. Have the Supreme Court, rush it, fast track it to the Supreme Court. Have them approve sending in the National Guard. Antifa is going to explode. I mean, they're already wild and out of control. But now they are going to explode. And Pritzker and Johnson, they are going to explode. And when they do explode, then Trump is going to address the country and say, look, literally, look. And he's going to read from the Insurrection Act, the exact passages that I read, and say, and I don't send the National Guard in. How? Why? I don't declare an insurrection. Why? So it's not just that Trump wants to have the legal authority and the constitutional authority. I think he also wants to have as much of a popular mandate, popular support as he can. And so I think, Darrell, he's going to play it more step by step. It'll take a little bit longer, but he really wants to get buy-in from the American people. The other thing is you've got this shutdown war he's got to win as well. So he's got a lot on his plate right now. But look, Darrell, this issue has now been forced upon him. Portland is pushing the issue. Oregon, Chicago, Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, they're not stopping now. And they were very lucky. Look, this is my theory. You may disagree with me. I think that was an ambush. Now, this part is speculation on my part. When that woman got out of the car with her semi-automatic, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to go to Dave in Dorchester, but just before I do, listen now to Gregory Bovino. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. He is a chief border patrol agent, and he said the quiet part out loud. He said, look, it's an open secret among ICE, Border Patrol. We know who's feeding and funding and encouraging all of this anti-ICE violence in Chicago and across Illinois. Roll cut 12. Mike.
When you hear what the governor, J.B. Pritzker, has to say, when you see the recalcitrance of the local leadership like Mayor Johnson, I'm just curious, what's your message to them as they continue with their behavior and their non-support to put the people that they are charged with protecting at great risk?
Those individuals like the governor or the mayor, they feed violence. They foment this violence. And I kind of scratch my head as to why they would do that, but they are actually feeding this violence and trying to get people hurt. I wonder if they actually want Border Patrol agents and ICE officers hurt. At this point, I've almost came to that conclusion. It's a sad fact, but they continually banter that rhetoric around, and I've not heard anything on the suspects that we've arrested, the bad people and bad things that we've arrested by the thousands. I know they said it was 800. It's over 1,000 arrests now in Chicago.
He's referring to Operation Midway Blitz, and that's what they've been doing now for about a week now. Over 1,000. These are violent criminal illegal aliens. Again, I want to stress this to you. Trender Aragua gangbangers, MS-13, members of the drug cartels. That's why they're it's those three in particular that have put out bounties on the heads of ICE agents. And Antifa and these far left groups are the ones that are quote unquote doxing the ICE agents, i.e. giving out their names, their pictures, their identities, their homes, their addresses, their families, where they live. So they put out this information on the internet, wink, wink. So these Trender Aragua thugs and MS-13 murderers and these drug cartel kingpins can then say, okay, Joe Blow, you kidnap, 2,000. You murder, 10,000. So there are bounties now that they're putting on the heads of ICE agents. And Bovino is completely right. This is coming from the mayor. This is coming from, Golden Corral, from Pritzker, the governor. And look, it's not that they're not supporting. I wish they were not supporting or not cooperating. Forget not supporting and not cooperating. They're actively inciting. They're actively instigating. I mean, I could keep playing you cut after cut. They're saying oppose them, stop them. Brandon Johnson, that whack job, is going on about relitigating the Civil War. Those are his words, not mine. This is not some whack job on MS Left BC. This guy's the mayor of one of the biggest cities in America. This is a dictatorship. This is tyranny. We're going to resist with everything we have. Quote, violence will be met with violence. I mean, what the hell is that? He's basically telling them, ram their cars, box them in, hit them, assault them, shoot them, throw bricks at them, throw bottles at them, and don't worry when you surround them and you want to bum rush them or whatever, attack them, the Chicago police are not going to be there. Like in Portland, we're not going to stand in Antifa's way in Portland. By the way, in Portland, outside the ICE facility, the media is not showing you this. You can see the videos. First of all, it's an army of Antifa terrorists. You know what they're chanting? Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Like literally, Antifa saying, no, we own the streets. These are our streets. They're doing like what do you call them? Stops where you have Antifa thugs armed, knives, baseball bats, guns, you name it. You think you're in Rwanda or something, okay, in Somalia. And they're doing checkpoints all along the neighborhoods and streets around that ICE detention facility. And you pull up your car and you see this guy with long hair, seriously, reeks of drugs, stoned out of his mind, with a massive saber. Or, a couple of guys with baseball bats, your driver's license and registration. Blank off. Who the hell are you? What do I got to show you my driver's license and registration? What are you doing here? What's the purpose of you being here? Hey, buddy, I paid for these streets. I'm a taxpayer. I have a right to go anywhere. What do I got to answer to you? You're not law enforcement. And they basically want to know, are you one of us or not? If you're one of us, we'll let you in. If you're not, get out. And the police are watching this. They're just watching this. And then when you have counter protesters, those who are defending ICE, show up, they get beaten and assaulted by Antifa, and the police do nothing. They blame the counter protesters, saying, well, you're instigating Antifa. What do you mean? We just showed up. Basically, here's what the police is saying. Antifa owns downtown Portland. So if you show up and you get beaten up or whatever, they crack your head open or they torch your car, hey, you got no one to blame but yourself. That's the mayor of Portland? That's the police chief of Portland? That's the governor of Oregon? Send in the freaking National Guard. What 200? Send in 2,000 and arrest them all. And to the police officers in Portland who are standing down, and to the Chicago Police Department, the Chicago police officers who are standing down, if you're not going to do your job and uphold law and order, then it's time to turn in your badge. I'm sorry, you're in the wrong line of work, man. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Dave in Dorchester. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
How are you?
Very good. Dave, honestly, I'm so happy I don't live in Chicago or Portland. I know things are bad here, Dave, but you got to see the images coming out of there. It's the Wild West, man. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm like, is this another country? I mean, it's parts of Chicago and Portland now, it's a war zone. So I'm just happy, Dave, I'm not there. So as every day that I'm not in Portland or Chicago is a good day.
This is true. Jeff, number one, I agree with sending all the troops in they have to send in, whether it's the National Guards or straight up Army, the Marines, whoever they need to get. Number one, we voted for Donald Trump to take care of business, not for some judge who sits on the bench doing nothing all day, twiddling his thumbs, number one. Number two, Jeff, if the crowd is that big to where they cannot get in near the ICE detention centers, what I would do if I was in charge, I'd get a couple of helos up in the sky, drop a few thousand tear gas bombs, and just let them start choking. They will not hang around with tear gas, Jeff. You and I both know this. That will make sure that the crowd disperses. And then let the ICE agents in, let everybody in who's got to be in there, and they'll be able to handle it. That's what they need to do, Jeff. Get some tear gas bombs up in the sky, far enough to where if they get any peen shooters they want to use, they can't get the helos. Let them drop right into the middle of the crowd, and that will definitely start getting rid of a lot of them.
Well, you know, Dave, look, again, you're completely right. And look, I'm thinking you're right. Use tear gas, use water cannons. There's many things you can use and disperse this crowd, but they don't want to use that. Now, I got to say, this is what's changed, Dave. In the old days, here's what they would say, even 10 years ago. Well, look, we don't want to use water cannons or tear gas or, you know, what you're talking about, any other kind of, you know, more aggressive tactics. They're just going to tire out on their own. It's going to peter out on their own. No one's going to protest for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. So look, let them, you know, yell and scream and bark for 2, 3, 4 days, and eventually they'll just go home. And then ICE will continue with their operations. The facility will be reopened, and we're not cracking any heads. There's no violence on the streets. So we'll take a different approach. I don't agree, but I understand. Okay, I can understand that. But here's what's changed, Dave. You can look it up. Please, don't take my word for it. Antifa and these other far-left groups have been at that ICE facility in Portland since June. Since freaking June. every day, every night. In fact, if you want, look, I've got stories. These are black residents who live in Portland, black residents who say, we can't sleep at night. Like, he goes, you don't understand. We can't send our kids to school. I have to work. I can't sleep at night. They're fireworks, banging drums, gunshots, loud noises at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning every single night. Weekends, weekdays, it doesn't matter, every night. She goes, I'm going insane. I can't sleep. My child can't go to school. We're not safe on the streets. I gotta work. I can't be kept up all night. She says, please, she's begging Trump, please. The mayor has surrendered to Antifa. The police chief has surrendered to Antifa. The governor has surrendered to Antifa. She's saying, I can't even get a decent night's sleep. She says the residents are begging for the National Guard. So what I'm saying, Dave, is they don't go away. It's not like, okay, 10 years ago, it's true, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then, I don't know, they have a job, they go to school, whatever, college, whatever. Who's paying them? Somebody's paying them. Like, I'm thinking, who has the money to just protest all day, all night? Like, every day, every night. Someone's paying their apartment bill, their housing, their apartment, whatever, their rent, their apartments. Someone's paying for their food. Someone's paying for their drugs. Someone's paying for all that marijuana. And it stinks. Because, they are stoned out of their mind. They're all on that bong, getting stoned. So someone's paying for their marijuana. Someone's paying for all of this. It's almost like they're professional agitators. They are professional protesters. It's like a job. That's their job. And they have shifts. The day shift, the night shift. And it's almost like, what shift are you on? Well, I worked nights last night, but I'm not going to do another day shift. I'm not doing a double shift. No. Harry is going to do the day, and I'm going to come in and do the night. Like, I swear, like at a factory or something. Who works the day shift? Who works the night shift? You want to work a double shift? You get overtime. So I want to know who is giving them all that money, because, Dave, they never leave. That's what's changed. So I'm sorry. Now you got to go hard and you got to go heavy. Dave, am I wrong?
Nah, Jeff, you're not wrong. Donald Trump's trying to do things quietly, trying to do it the way he needs to do it. Now he's got no choice, Jeff. He needs to call in the heavy guns and get rid of it. And like you're saying, he has to take it to the federal Supreme Court and let them give him the okay to go do it, and get rid of this judge who said no way, get rid of the governors who said no way. Yeah, take a broom, and like they were saying earlier, Jeff, right back to Guantanamo. There's plenty of room there.
As always, Dave, thank you very much for that call. Really good call. This is ridiculous. And let me just tell you what the residents are saying. That these Antifa thugs and others, they don't wash, they don't shower, they don't bathe. She says they all have this crazy look in their eyes because they're all on. Marijuana is the lowest with what they're. That's the softest drug that they're taking. They're on all kinds of medications. Apparently, a good chunk of them are literally mentally ill. They go, there's a mental health subculture. There are many transgenders as well mixed in. So they're on all kinds of cocktail medications, drugs. They don't bathe. They don't shower. They monitor that downtown core. People can't go to businesses. They smash windows. She goes, the residents there are living in absolute terror. And where's the mayor? Where's the governor? Where's the police chief? Where's the police? 617-266-6868 is the number. Vince in Long Island. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
I don't know how a normal tax-paying population lives amongst these savages, and they have a mayor that probably has 10 to 20% support controlling a population with that kind of support. Aren't they basically hostages in their own city? I mean,
yes.
These local cops, they really need to be prosecuted for dereliction of duties. You can't just pretend not to do a job that you're supposed to be doing. And I mean, so if there's a murder going on, you look the other way and you have no responsibility. I mean, they really need to be prosecuted. And this thing about the slow escalation is very dangerous because it leads to more death and destruction. I think that Trump should go in and arrest a major player, a mayor, a governor, whatever, and take it from there and see how the reaction is after that. Because this thing isn't going anywhere good. I mean, the radical left, they thrive on chaos, and they need that chaos for the coming elections and to keep their power. And now that they had this Jimmy Kimmel reinstatement, they see that as a major victory, and they think they can effectuate things. And the moral of the story, I was saying, remember when Biden said that about the Trump supporters? How are they going to overtake us? We have F-16s and tanks. Isn't that what should be instilled in these people's heads? That a couple of thugs with some machine guns or knives are not going to take on the military with F-16s and tanks. I don't know if you remember, the American audience probably doesn't know anything about this, but I don't know if you remember the FLQ back in Quebec.
Oh, yes. That's when the Quebec terrorists, who wanted independence for Quebec, were blowing up mailboxes and committing acts of terror. And the prime minister at the time, Trudeau, literally called the military on the streets of Montreal. Please go ahead, Vince. That was 1970, right, Vince?
70, 71. I remember
70,
going to grade 1 or something like that. And the military was stopping people, asking for IDs and everything. And this was a liberal prime minister, a bleeding heart liberal, who said that we must stop this. I think it was being sponsored by Cuba and all that stuff, but there was revolutionaries that were kidnapping government ministers. And remember, they were asking for ransom and all kinds of demands. I think I don't know if you remember that guy Laporte.
Yes.
They
killed him. Yeah, they killed Laporte. He was a minister in the provincial government, and they killed him. And and I remember I was a bit younger. I'm a bit younger than you, Vince. But my dad, I remember when I was growing up in the 70s, my dad was telling me they got so bad they had to call the military on the streets. And now, Vince, from everything I've read, you tell me, what's going on in Chicago and Portland is a hell of a lot worse than what happened with the FLQ in Montreal, in Quebec, the province of Quebec, in 1970-71. Am I wrong?
Government was not backing the terrorists. These animals here, they basically want a civil war, but I don't know how they can win one because basically they're outnumbered and outgunned. They have the media and whatever Hollywood wackos on their side. They're waiting for a Kent state, like you said, so they can rally all the radicals to come together and take over the streets, they think. But I think, the Trump administration is on to that. I think they got a few steps ahead of this. And I think right now they're rallying their strategy on what to do. I think the military is going to be part of this because the web of corruption and criminals is so wide. It stems everywhere, from judges to everywhere. So, I just read on the news that luckily one Antifa that got prosecuted got 19 years in prison. I don't know if you read that.
Yes, I did. Good. No, they got to do a lot more, but I like that. 20 years. Good. They got to start throwing the book at him, Vince. Vince, we've got less than a minute. I've got to ask you, do you think Trump will invoke the Insurrection Act? Maybe not today, but eventually. Will he have no choice?
He will, because his mission is to save the country, and he's the last hope to do so. Otherwise, he's going to relinquish all the control that he has now to maybe remember Bush that followed Reagan? And then we go softly down the road back to slow communism, slow-boiled communism. So he has to do something. He has to change the course of history at this point. That's the bottom line. And I wanted to ask you one thing. How's your killer dog, Rocky Balboa, doing? You haven't mentioned him a lot lately.
Rocky is doing great. Vince, thank you for asking about him. He's doing great. He's got an appetite. He's eating us out of house and home, but that's good. He sleeps with Ava right beside her. He's been playing in the pool all summer long. He loves the water. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Bob?
Good. I'd like to start off by saying that we have to remember that the last traitor-in-chief gave George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which basically tells you all you need to know about what's going on here. The second thing I'd like to mention is if, thank God it didn't happen, if Kamala Harris got elected, all these military-age men that have invaded our country would have become part of our military, and they would have thought nothing of turning their weapons on American citizens. So thank God that didn't happen. And then thirdly, any mayor or governor of a sanctuary city is aiding and abetting the invasion, and they're impeding justice. I think Johnson would be the perfect example, and Pritzker or whatever. One of these guys has to get arrested. The president has to make a presidential address, explain to the American people what's going on as far as, the aiding and abetting of the invasion, justice that these mayors and governors are doing to law enforcement.
Bob, you're kind of breaking up on us, but no, look, it's obvious now what's happened. You're completely right. Look, Chicago now, in many ways, look, remember, this is Obama's city. Obama sprang from Chicago, and so did Reverend Jeremiah Wright, and so did Valerie Jarrett, and so did Ayanna Pressley, and I could go on and on and on. You could really make the argument that Chicago is really ground zero for the communist movement in the United States. It's the epicenter of communism in America. And now, like tentacles, its offspring are now spreading everywhere. And Portland is another hotbed for Antifa. Portland and Seattle, really. So, and by the way, just so that you know about Portland, Eugene, Oregon is another very big hotbed for the radical left. A lot of these people, and this is about maybe 10 years ago, they fled California, but not because it was too liberal, like the way many conservatives are fleeing California. They were fleeing California because it wasn't leftist enough. I swear to you. And so they said, well, let's create our own sort of, communist utopia. And they said, okay, we'll do it in Seattle, we'll do it in Portland, we'll do it in Eugene, Oregon. And that's what they have done now for about a good 10 years. And I'm telling you, you just got to go to some of these cities. Homeless encampments everywhere. These are the places where the college students, high school students, are so freaking stoned that they walk around all day in their pajamas. You see them at the grocery store in pajamas, in the movie theaters in pajamas. I know because people have described it to me. They go, Jeff, you have no idea how weird it is. They don't bathe. They don't shave. They don't shower. They're all reading Karl Marx, Frederick Engels, Saul Alinsky. Everyone's got this Antifa handbook. They hate the police. They hate authority of any kind. And they want to, basically they're Marxist anarchists. And the situation now has just gotten worse and worse to the point now that downtown Portland is effectively a no-go zone. It's a no-go zone. The police are petrified of them. Now, people are getting shot. People are getting murdered. Businesses are being extorted. In fact, there aren't even many businesses left. Everything is boarded up. Residents are being terrorized. And they're shooting up in the parks. They're shooting up, like just, your heroin. They're just shooting it up right there. At, high noon. There they are, shooting up. Safe injection sites everywhere. Drug addicts passed out everywhere. Forgive me, it's the morning, but they're defecating, urinating on the streets. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And that's happening in Seattle. It's happening in so many places. And they love it. Now, I'm telling you, my dad went to Portland in the 80s for his company, and he also went to Seattle. In fact, he was there so long, my mom decided to accompany him. And they came back raving about those two places, especially Seattle, that it was so clean, it was so orderly, it was so well kept, that the seafood was to die for. They said, look, it does rain a lot, but they go, the foliage is incredible. The Pacific Northwest. The fishing is great. People then, anyway, were nice. They were friendly. What they have done to that place, it's a shame. Seriously, it's a shame. Breaks your heart. And so you have mentally ill people who are roaming the streets, and they're taking all kinds of drugs, all kinds of medications, and many of them are violent. They're obviously violent. People are afraid of them. And the police have backed down. And now they've been surrounding the ICE building now for 3 months. And so ICE agents are saying, we can't detain or arrest illegal aliens. We are being constantly obstructed. We're being shot at. We're being blocked. We're being spit on. We're being beaten. We're being assaulted. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is a really good text from somebody that I know, and believe me, I trust him, so I know this information is very solid. Jeff, the thing here is for the feds to target the funding of these operations. I sat in a meeting with a good friend yesterday evening who has very high level contacts behind the scenes, who are currently running down the sources of all this funding. And listen to this. Apparently it's coming from at least a dozen or more sources. Some are foreign, like governments China and Qatar. Some are domestic here in the United States. But all are being funneled through various shell companies and foundations. And then it goes to these NGOs, and they distribute them to these Antifa, anti-ICE shock troops. Apparently now the Clinton Foundation has been known now to be giving a lot of money to these groups. And of course, Soros. A lot of the money is coming from several groups tied to Soros's organizations. There's apparently also a large leftist activist group out of Canada that is as a major player being used to funnel all of these outside foreign funds into the United States coming in from various countries. Now, listen to this. From what I've been told, these rent-a-mobs are being paid between $300 to $500 a day. So these activists, these agitators, they're making between $300 to $500 a day. Now, just do the math. Say they work 5 days a week and take weekends off. Or whatever. They work 5 days and take 2 days off. That's $1,500 to $2,500 a week. Cash money. That's all undeclared under the table money. And not only is it $300 to $500 a day, but all their equipment, all their gear is being supplied as well. And I'm sure their drugs are being paid for as well. So it's, we say, go get a job. This is their job. And apparently, hey, for all of you out there that are unemployed, if you don't mind being a traitor, okay, and a criminal and a terrorist, if you don't mind that, there's some good job openings for you with Antifa right now. George Soros is hiring. You can make $2,500 a week, tax-free, baby. And, all the marijuana you can smoke. And they'll even give you whatever. You need ice picks. You need knives. What do you need? You need some semi-assault weapons, semi-assault rifles to shoot up ICE vehicles. Whatever you need, they'll supply you. Masks, you name it, padding, whatever you need. They will give it to you. Batons, baseball bats, whatever you need, baby. Okay, and this person goes on, and this is true. And this is why this is very serious. There is also a high potential going forward for these groups on the ground to be supplied with arms for even more dangerous operations. So if the funding is cut off, this all goes away because none of these useful idiots are going to riot and protest for free. Bingo. That's why you've got to cut off the funding. And you invoke the Insurrection Act, you can do that as well. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Jose in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jose, and welcome.
Good morning, brother. Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do. But before you do, Jose, if you don't mind me asking you a personal question, are you unemployed by any chance?
No, I'm employed.
Well, I'm just saying, because any family member, any friend? Because I'm a recruiter now for Antifa. Jose, I've got some great jobs. I'm just saying, $2,500 a week, and I'm serious. All the hash you can smoke, all the marijuana you can take, my friend. I'm just saying, tell your buddies.
Really?
Go ahead, Jose.
All right, let me take the floor for a second. I want to ensure all of Kuhner country that ICE's efforts are working. They grabbed my pizza guy, Jeff. They grabbed my pizza guy. Now listen, let me finish. Now, Julio and I have been friends for 15, 20 years, okay? I knew him before the pizza joint, but we became friends. Of course, I never asked him his immigration status or anything, but I would text him, and boy, can he make a pizza. For selfish reasons, I'm a little sad he's gone, but I don't feel bad for him, Jeff, because, A, did he cut the front of the line? Yes. Did he flip the middle finger to the application process? Yes. Did he flip the middle finger to the United States? Yes, he did. So the way I look at it, Jeff, he had a good run of 20 years of illegality in this country, and he comes out on top if he's just deported. He should probably be charged, but if they just deport him back to Mexico, he's on top. Take the floor, Jeff. Take the floor.
No, you're right, Jose. Honestly, all kidding aside, you're completely right. He had a great 20 years. Everything you said, he cut the line. There are many people who want to deliver and make pizzas in the United States. They're waiting in line. They're doing it the right way. So he cut the line. He gave the middle finger to the country, to our laws, to our entire immigration process. And he did very well for himself in the United States. And I'm sure, by the way, he was on a lot of government welfare benefits. Believe me, Jose, you paid for him again and again and again. So, it's like the mob, really. They had a nice 20-year run. They were running some really nice extortion rackets. They all made a lot of good money. And now it's time to close up shop. And now go back to Mexico and, make a living over there. But he milked us, and he milked us good. And, Jose, I don't get these people They're texting me, emailing me, okay, violent criminals maybe, but these people that just want to work, it's obscene. It's cruel. I'm like, what is so cruel? Have you ever heard of legal immigration? So what, they can't come here legally? They have to come here illegally? And many of them, in fact, all of them, live on welfare? Whatever jobs they have, they're supplementing their income. When you come to the United States as a legal immigrant, you're supposed to be able to sustain yourself, provide for yourself and your family, not live off other people, not live off the taxpayer. So we're supposed to reward these people for breaking our laws and committing immigration fraud, identity fraud. I could go on and on. Like, what kind of a country are we turning ourselves into? So, no, Jose, you're absolutely, completely right. And we have laws. They're on the books. ICE has every right to enforce them. And if the Democrats don't like it, change the laws. But they don't want to change the laws because the laws are popular, Jose. So now they have to obstruct and obstruct and obstruct. Jose, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm sorry, but now you're back in Mexico. Well, you should never have come here in the first place. So as far as I'm concerned, you got a 20-year advance. He was here for 20 years? And believe me, you milked us for 20 years. Thank you, and go back to Mexico. Quit while you're ahead. Richard in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Richard, and welcome.
Well, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Richard.
I haven't spoken to you in a while.
Richard, we can barely hear you. Can you please get off speaker? Richard, hang on. We're gonna fix the phone issue with you, and we'll put you on right away, I promise. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I think we fixed our phone connection. Let's go right back to Rich in New Hampshire. Rich, thanks for holding, and welcome. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. This whole business of these animals in the streets, these communists, doing these things are the fault of Jeff Sessions, allowing the rest of the Republicans. When Trump was first elected, they turned their back on Trump and Trump's what he wanted to do. These Republicans continue to do this, turning their back on what Trump wants to do. Republicans don't know how to fight. They don't want to fight. All they care about is their houses and their cars and their bank accounts. These Republicans are not patriots. The Democrats are. They hate this country, but they don't care, and they're very open about it, and they know how to fight. They fight dirty, and they fight with viciousness like animals do, and it's being exemplified in the streets all over this country and cities all over this country. And it is despicable that these Republicans will not get behind President Trump's agenda and fighting him all the way. And that they did it in 2017, and they continue to do it. We need to fight like Democrats, Jeff.
Well, Rich, Grace and I were having almost this identical conversation over the weekend. And I said to her, there's a lot of differences between Trump and Reagan. But I said there are two very, very clear similarities. First of all, both were and are, because Trump is still in office, obviously, immensely successful presidents. Okay? Very successful. Historical presidents. They've changed history. Reagan did it, Trump has done it, and is in the process of doing it even more. I said, but you know what else they have in common? And she was like, what? They're both former Democrats. And that's not just a line. Reagan fought harder. He did it in his way. He had a great sense of humor. He used wit. He used soaring rhetoric. It was a bit of a different style than Trump's. But Reagan wouldn't give an inch. He fought him. He fought him hard. He fought him on Star Wars. He fought him on tax cuts. He fought him on deregulation. He fought him on winning the Cold War. He fought him on the military buildup. I mean, he fought him and fought him. He wouldn't give an inch. Tip O'Neill would say, he won't give an inch. I mean, he'll give me some stuff. He'll compromise. But on his core principles, this guy, he's a lion. He just will not back down. Trump is the same. He's a bit different style. He's more of a brawler and a street fighter. And so his style is different than Reagan's. And both, I think, have their strengths and weaknesses in terms of their styles. But, he's a former Democrat. And they both fight like Democrats. And I don't think it's an accident. That's why they were both so successful. And Trump is still so successful. I know they're disgusting in what they do. But just think of Schumer, how he fights. Maxine Waters, how she fights. Nancy Pelosi, how she fights. Obama, how he fights or fought. Remember what Nancy Pelosi said about Obamacare? She said, well, if at first we don't succeed, then we try to scale the wall. If you can't scale the wall, we're going to parachute ourselves in. Remember, in other words, we're going to ram this thing down your throat whether you like it or not. Now, Trump, he's doing it for good things, but Trump is the same. He fights like a Democrat. If I got to go to the judges, I'll go to the judges. If I got to appeal to the Supreme Court, I'll appeal to the Supreme Court. If I got to go to, the Oregon National Guard, okay, she's going to block me in the Oregon National Guard, I'll go to the California National Guard. Oh, you'll block the California National Guard? Well, I'm going to go to the Texas National Guard. So he fights like a Democrat, and the Republicans. Look, you're right. You've captured them so well, Rich. These are country club Republicans. They like their homes. They like their cars. They like their country clubs. They like their country club memberships. They like the vacation. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They're not fighters. They're not fighters. It's beneath them. They think Trump is gauche. Like, what are you doing getting in the trenches there? You're going to battle Chicago and Portland and send in the National Guard? Come on, man. We're here to make money. What are you doing getting into a street fight with them? Rich, I've got less than 30 seconds. Will Trump invoke the Insurrection Act? What do you think?
No.
Really?
Absolutely not.
Why? Because his
Absolutely
party
not.
won't back him?
His party will not back him, and the media will not back him, and it will destroy his administration.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Rich, outstanding call. Great way to end the show.